Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, John. First order of business this evening is the action on minutes. To see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of the minutes from the meeting held on March 9th, 2026. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve said minutes.
Thank you, Stephanie. And a second? Thank you, Amy. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from the meeting held on March 9th, 2026? Thank you. Abstaining, Levi? Thank you. Motion passes. Next, we'll move on to the citizen comments. If there might be people here from the public that would like to speak this evening. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Madeline Hayden and I'm a resident of Bethel.
Hi, I'm Lily Lewis and I'm a resident of Bethel too.
We are 8th graders at Telstar and we are in the public relations class.
For this board meeting, we would like to focus on student recognition.
There are many ways a student could get recognized at Telstar. One of the ways we recognize students is at our star assemblies. For star assemblies every month, there is a superstar for each grade. A superstar is not just someone who can get decent grades. It is about how the student acts around peers, as well as the amount of effort that is shown each and every day, whether it's in the classroom or in the halls. Telstar Middle School superstars all have amazing howls, which means they are prepared for classes, are focused, productive, and follow the rules written on the class conduct. They show integrity when working, as well as showing growth in many ways. Collaboration with classmates shows an understanding of involvement throughout the room. Those are some of the key parts of how a superstar is conducted. Each and every student is unique and excels in their own way. So a superstar can surely be anyone at Telstar Middle School if they can manage to try their very best.
Not only do we recognize big accomplishments and overall success, but teachers work hard to recognize kids in their classrooms for various reasons too. In a lot of classrooms at TMS, the teachers focus on student recognition, and I would like to talk about 5 of them. For the first teacher, we have Miss Fiorentini, and she has the amazing work board, where she recognizes the work of a couple students that worked really hard on their assignments. Next, we have Miss Killam with her map challenge board, and when you finish the IXLs, where you have to go around the world naming different countries. Then there's Miss O'Leary with a class competition where you start out with 100 points, but lose 10 every time you leave the classroom or you need a pencil. With class with the most points wins. Also, there's Mrs. Jerome when she gives your class a point every time you find one of our vocab and spelling words, and the class with the most at the end of the trimester wins a party. And the winning class of the year gets the golden brick. Last but not least is Mr. Hedden at the Star Assemblies when he gives out awards for mousetrap cars and the egg drop. We also have out-of-school recognition. One way we do this is at our sport recognition night, when all of the kids that participated in that season of sports get to be recognized for how much work they put in. The coaches call down athletes, talk about the highlights of the season as a team, and share some individual accomplishments of the 8th graders. Then there's a raffle for Rebel gear. One athlete from each team is drawn to win their choice of Rebel gear. This is sponsored by the Telstar Booster. We like to share good news and good things with kids that what we're doing with kids in the community too. We use Facebook to post good things that the students have done. One time we posted about a few kids that made a bench during class for a project. We also posted about Lily Burrow when she was in the Nutcracker. There's always a post about our star assemblies and other events that are going on in the school too. This way, parents, grandparents, friends, and townspeople get a sense of what TMS is up to.
Thank you for having us today on behalf of the Public Relations class in Telstar Middle School. We were glad to tell the school board about all the ways we get recognition as students. We appreciate getting recognized because it makes us feel valued. All the hard work put in and out of class can be noticed and appreciated. It makes the students feel great and the teacher or coach as well. That is why we wanted to share the ways a student is recognized. At the end of your meeting, we invite you to check our hallways and see the Star Awards posted on many of our lockers. We hope everyone has a great rest of their night.
Ladies. Is there anyone else here from the public that would like to speak this evening? Moving on to board member comments. Are there any board members that would like to speak this evening?
I'd like to use my time to thank the public relations students for coming and giving us a peek into your lives, and your voice is really important for us to hear on a regular basis. So you guys did a great job.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any other board members that would like to speak this evening? All right. Move on to the chairman's report. This evening, Mark will be presenting the proposed FY27 SAD44 general fund and adult ed budgets. We will vote on those later on in the meeting. A reminder that the public budget hearing is hosted on Wednesday, May 27th here at Telstar in the auditorium. And I'd like to thank Mark and the Finance Committee for just all the time, consideration, and work that they put into making these budgets, putting them together, and also the other board members that attended a lot of our committee meetings. Your feedback was very helpful in making the process just a little easier, smoother, more collaborative. And I'd also like to share that I had the pleasure of sitting on the think tank panel over at TFA a few weeks back and was blown away by the presentations. It's an excellent example of project-based learning that, you know, with real world problems, and it was just incredible to see how the kids, the collaboration they did, the research, how they put that all together. And TFA typically invites all the board members and other community members each year, and I'd strongly encourage, anyone to go, attend a session or two, but it's a great opportunity to see the amazing work that's being done by the students and teachers out there. And that concludes the chairman's report. Move on to upcoming committee and board meetings. The next SAD44 board meeting is going to be Monday, May 4th at 6:30 here at Telstar. The Education Committee will be meeting Thursday, May 14th at 3 p.m. in the Memorial Savings Bank Conference Room. Facilities and Personnel will be meeting Monday, May 4th at 5:15 here at Telstar Room 131. We have listed here that finance negotiations will be meeting tomorrow, but we do not need to meet tomorrow, so we'll be meeting on Tuesday, May 19th at 5:30 at the central office. And the Policy Committee will be meeting Wednesday, April 15th at 10:30 here at Telstar. And the Region 9 Cooperative Board will meet May 6th, 6 p.m. at the Region 9 School of Applied Technology. We'll now hear the committee reports, according to the Education Committee. Ms. Claire?
The Education Committee met last Thursday and received a presentation from Carrie Lynch, who is the ELO coordinator, is coordinator the correct term, coordinator. And it was really interesting to hear about that program. That program has really evolved out of several different grants from what we learned over the past, half a decade at least, and really seems to be hitting its stride with everything that's going on in the high school, and the grant is ending for that. So part of the budget process was looking at absorbing that position because it really seems like it's something that our students value, and it's really going well for students. So we would like to continue that program moving forward.
Thank you, Stephanie. And reporting for facilities, Mr. Kendall.
So we have been very active the past couple of weeks. We had quite a few interviews. First ones were with some ESCO companies, which is going to be an energy management company to help guide us through long-term planning for all of our facilities, from boilers to insulation to everything these buildings need that they haven't really gotten. And coming up with a plan, they'll also help with the finances and how to do it. They also do grant writing for us. So we interviewed 4 companies. We did select one that we're going to be presenting and working through a contract with, and hopefully using them in the near future. On top of that, we also interviewed for a maintenance director position. Carlin is leaving us on her own free will, I think, still, this summer. So we did 3 interviews for that. And we did select somebody that we're going to be moving forward with, that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Very excited for that position. I'll have some time with Arlen to kind of get all the details of that job before she does leave us. And then we also just talked about the lighting update that has happened in all 3 buildings. That is just about done. A few final details left, and that's about it.
Brian. And for finance and negotiations, Ms. Sarah.
Good evening, everyone. This is my favorite meeting of the year. Now, last Tuesday, we had our end of our weekly finance meetings where we finalized the budget that Mark will be presenting tonight that you'll be voting on. As Erin said, thank you to all of you not on the committee who attended the meetings. Your input was certainly invaluable. Just a reminder of the process that we went through. We heard from all of the administrators and budget leaders. They presented their draft budgets to us, and then we went through every cost center line by line and reviewed that to get you the draft budget tonight. Our focus throughout the process was really a balance of fiscal responsibility while protecting the education and programming and having a minimal impact on the students, as well as additional investments in our aging infrastructure. So looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you, Meredith. And for the policy committee, Ms. Rebecca.
Yes, the policy committee met Monday, March 30th. We went over and discussed a bit the student and staff surveys regarding cell phones at high school. And we'll be looking at the policy in our next meeting. A decision will be made whether we make a decision as a board, or we wait for the statewide, whether the statewide rule will go into effect or not. But either way, we need to have a plan, so that will be our next meeting. In this meeting on the agenda, you will see a second reading for the superintendent job description, which nobody had anything to say about last time, so really no changes there. Also, a second reading of patriotic exercises. There was a slight change there just to keep our patriotic exercises consistent through the buildings and not leaving it to the teachers to decide. We think that would be the cleanest way to stay consistent on that. And finally, a first reading of a new one. This is a policy regarding legislation that already went through setting parameters for temperatures, minimums and maximums in the classrooms. So you'll be seeing all of those in the agenda coming up.
Thank you, Stephanie. And for Region 9, Mr. Brown.
Region 9 has announced the National Technical Honor Society. SAD44 has 7 members, and they are Austin Boger, Building Construction, Addison Kimball, CNA, Emma McPherson, CNA, Hannah Stetson, Fire Science, Garrett Owen, Heavy Equipment, Braden Easterling, Outdoor Skills and Leadership, Michaela Maury, Outdoor Skills and Leadership. Also, Michaela has been chosen as one of 10 students in the ETC field that have, she's been invited to go to Alaska for a 10-day outdoor education program. And there's only 10 of them in all the United States, so I thought that was pretty cool. And in addition to that, Michaela Maury is also the Region 9 Student of the Year. So, very busy girl. And the new buildings will be completely open and kids will be in them at the end of next week. Good things. Only a year late, but
I will now turn it over to Mr. Kenny for the superintendent's report and correspondence.
All right, well, we're going to kick off tonight with a special presentation, a collaboration between our high school and elementary art departments. And so we have some special guests who came to share part of their projects. And we kind of turn the floor over to them at this time. They want to come on up. First, I just want to say thank you guys for coming and to share your special projects. This is quite a unique opportunity between our high school and elementary, and driven by our two art teachers in this whole process. And so, Saraswati, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, so they will talk about this collaboration that they were able to take part in throughout the course of this year. I was able to be part of the final presentations of the projects from our high school kiddos to our kindergartners here that have joined us, and to see the smiles and the excitement on these kids' faces was priceless. It was one of my favorite moments of the year, and I was too good of a collaboration not to share with all of you. So thank you to Miss I and Mrs. Broderick who made this happen, and I won't say anything else and let them share.
So I connected with Ashley at the beginning of the year about a project that we had done a few years ago, pre-COVID, about having some students draw some pictures and then having my ceramic students create them from two-dimensional design to a three-dimensional design. So it was a great partnership in the fact that Ms. Broderick got to connect with her kindergarten students and have them draw monsters, focusing on colors and textures and body parts and all those things. And then she sent those drawings to me, and then I asked my ceramics class to pick two monsters that they would create out of clay. So if you want to hit them. So the first task was having kindergarten create their drawings, thinking about facial features and all those things that are just fun to use your imagination, and they didn't really have to think about anything else except drawing what they had in mind. And then the drawings were handed over to me, and then my ceramics students had to think about all of the hand building techniques that they use learning at the beginning of this semester and recreating those drawings three-dimensionally. So they had to think about scale, they had to think about using those hand building skills like coiling, pinch pots, and how to construct those so that they looked almost identical to the drawings that were originally given to us. And then, of course, the favorite part was when we finally got all of them finished, there were a lot of kindergarten students and there were 12 ceramic students. So we all had to kind of double up. I even got to do a couple, which I was very excited about, and finish a few. So what we did is we connected back with Mrs. Broderick about a good time for my students to come over. What was great is that my ceramics class was last period, so we were able to grab a couple of the vans, take our sculptures over and meet the kindergarten classes. And my high school students were, of course, very shy and didn't really want to stand up and show off their works. But the best part was all of the reactions from the kindergarten students as well as the teachers, and how wonderfully, realistically they were depicted from their original drawings. Yes. So the great impact of this project is that validation between the big kids and the little kids. Working with the concept of scale. So the kindergarten students were thinking about how to fill the paper with their monster drawing, and again, adding in those features. And then it built a bridge between the youngest and the oldest in the district. And for the high schoolers, it was a creative problem solving that took a lot of work on their part of really thinking about, how do I add 17 arms? Or how do I get this monster to stand on those really skinny legs? So we had to do a lot of problem solving with that. And of course, some of the sculptures fell apart. We had to start over again. So for the high school students, there's a lot of perseverance. And really thinking about the duty to fulfill that sculpture and bring it to those students and have them be very excited about it. And so they're applying all of those skills that they've been learning in my high school class and really putting it into motion.
So we have some pictures of all of the projects to share, and these are the first couple. And we have one of the final projects here in real life. you want to speak about this?
Sure.
This is Eva, and Eva got a chance to make Ginny's project, which was also
Yeah.
very
I
exciting.
specifically requested her since she's very obviously my sister. But I know that if it's not the right color, she won't be very happy with me. So I worked very, very hard on this, and she said thank you about 15 times within the past week, which is very appreciated.
Ginny, do you want to tell them what was your favorite part of the project?
Even making it.
When Eva got to make it. Were you surprised when she showed it to you and it looked just like your monster?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ella. So we have Ella here who has prepared a few things to share with you that she wants to say. So,
My name is Ella Barnley. I am a kindergartner in Mrs. Crockett's class. I was really excited when I colored my monster because Miss Wadwick told us that they were going to be made into real-life monsters by Telstar Kids. When I got my monster back, I was happy because it looked beautiful.
your monster. So here's her. Is this the right one? Her monster here. And yeah, I can't remember that.
Lucas Spears.
Lucas Spears. I'm going. You want to hold it? Okay. Hold it tight. So here are some other pictures. Then we have PJ. Hold yours, please.
My name is PJ. I'm a kindergartner. Mrs. Bourne's class. When a like project I wanted to be really colorful. So I picked the colors orange, blue, pink and green. This project because I think it came
out nice. When I got my monster back from Telstar, I was excited
because
I
like what it looked like.
All right. And PJ's project That's the exact reaction that they, ooh. Here's some others. I don't think Miss I made that one. It's just the student wasn't here that day, right? All right. And Everett unfortunately wasn't able to join us. She did prepare something that she wanted to say, but she's under the weather, so. All right, Natalie, you are up. I'll hold this for you. Ready?
My name is Natalie Gilbert. I am a kindergarten in Mr. Spinning's class. I made this monster when I colored it right around like a rainbow. I like doing this project because at that I like that I could make my monster have lots of work. When I got the monster back from Tasker, I was excited because it looks just like the monster that I made.
Just like the monster. All right. So, just again, thank you to these fabulous ladies for organizing and making this project happen. And thank you to these 4 brave kindergartners who joined us this evening. Is actually their second public speaking performance of the week, because last Friday they got to present on Career Day. So they'll be all ready for the 8th grade public relations class in a few years. Does anybody have any questions before? All right. What do you say, guys? I'm nervous to carry these back. That's so real. Do you want me to take them? Actually, I said I don't want to carry them. Girl, I don't know either.
Luckily, I made a full-blown paragraph.
Thank you.
Thank you, families, for coming in. I know it's a Monday night, so we appreciate it. How do you follow that?
Oh, she got that right.
Cheryl.
Exactly.
Throw the button when you're done.
Start with the bang. All right, jumping right back in. So appointments we have for Schedule B, we have a couple coaches. Sarah Chase was at the high school for assistant softball coach. And Nathan Walker was approved as assistant baseball coach at the high school. We have a couple or 3 resignations in the last week. Denise Strayton, one of our pre-K teachers at Crescent Park, will be done at the end of this school year. Noah Grondin, who is an ed tech down at TFA, the high school, is done next week, April 15th. This week, April 15th. And Jillian Bryce, who is an ed tech 3 at Crescent Park in special ed, will be done April 24th. And then later on tonight, under new business, as Mr. Kendall pointed out, we do have an appointment of a new maintenance supervisor to bring to the table. PTA updates, and there's a lot going on. Steph, you want to
Yes, PTA has been quite busy. This afternoon we made salads for our staff for their parent-teacher conferences. Last Thursday, I believe it was, we made little charcuterie boxes for them. They were well received, so that was great. We have a whole slate of events lined up for Teacher Appreciation Week, which is in early May. We, a couple weeks ago, did Parents Night Out, which is always well received by students and parents alike. And I do just want to take a second to piggyback off of the art presentation and also Parents Night Out, where I know some high schoolers came. That as a PTA mom, I just want to say kudos to all of the high school students. over the past year, I've been watching the high school students, and it really seems like there's just this strong commitment towards really interacting with the elementary school students. And as a mom of 2 elementary school students, I notice it all the time. You know, the kids really have gotten to know their peers in the high school and formed relationships with them. And it's, you know, from the basketball program to the NHS day that they hosted, where they all hung out with the kids, to the parents' night out, and I could go on and on and on. And it's just really impressive that the high schoolers have, you know, made such a commitment to the elementary school students, and it doesn't go unnoticed. I think that's it.
Thank you. I know, it's okay.
Woodstock PTA, we are getting ready for our dance on Friday, along with Jason Harvey. He has a juggling meeting that's coming from Woodstock. I believe they're also he's coming to Crescent Park as well. We are also getting ready for our teacher appreciation. We have something set up every single day for teachers to show them how much we're doing. And that's we also have our challenge show on Friday. Sorry. So PTA is providing prizes to our top people.
Thank you very much. We have 3 teachers at Crescent Park in the elementary level that were nominated and became semifinalists for Oxford County Teacher of the Year. Jen Chapin, who's a grade 3 teacher at Crescent Park, Ashley Broderick, who saw tonight, who's the elementary art teacher, and Gina Welch, one of the pre-K teachers at Crescent Park, were all nominated and made their way up through the semifinalist ranks. And then we found out today, at least for 2 of the 3, both Jen Chapin and Gina Welch have made it to finals status. And so we should know in May who they pick as the Oxford County Teacher of the Year, but we have at least 2 finalists in the running.
Can I just add that there are 2 out of 3, so they only picked 3 finalists for the entire Oxford County.
Oh, wow.
There are 2 of the 3.
Who does those nominations?
I think we should have gotten.
They can come from staff, from parents, from other coworkers. It's an open nomination, and students have nominated teachers in the past.
Big pre-K population making nominations.
So, it's pretty special, so we have a good chance, and we have never, to my recollection, know that we have ever had anyone actually make it to Oxford County Teacher of the Year status from the district, so this could be a first and something to celebrate, so it's always a nice recognition. Now, hand out a lot of food at the time. So as both Aaron and Meredith alluded to, this process started back in January. Actually started in December when the building principals collected all their budget information from their staff and started to go through, and then we started our weekly meetings and presentations in January. And then since the end of January, every Tuesday night, the finance committee has been meeting to go through, hear all the proposed budget pitches from each of the department heads and administrators, and then looking at how this all comes together into a full budget process in the cost centers. The first handout you have tonight just shows you a comparison between the overall budget from last year to this year. We're going to FY27. The budget increase is just under $900,000 from last year to this year, which represents a 5.05% increase. Our state aid went up $53,000. And our revenue was up $204,000 predicted for next year, so that definitely helps offset some things. And going through this, I gave you the wrong, hold on. I'm reading the wrong numbers.
Fun.
This is the wrong number. Oh, sorry. Okay, you have the numbers. He's there. You have the one. I have the wrong one. All right. Thanks, Ed. So sorry. The budget is up 932,000, and that comes from a last minute change we had the other night to add back in the elementary music position that had been cut the previous year. So the budget from one year, from FY26, the current year, to 27 is up 5.3%. The committee decided to add $25,000 more in carryover to help bring that number down. And then along with our revenue, as you follow down through, our EPS is what the local share is required by each town to raise in order to receive state aid. And then above and beyond what the state gives us was an additional, an increase of another $329,000 to meet our needs, which brings the general fund budget down to 5.1%. When you add in the adult ed portion of our budget, adult ed is actually seeing a reduction this year. And part of that is due to the financial wealth that they have gained. They were able to bring some more carryover forward, and Terry has gone through and been really scrutinizing the budget as a whole to make it work for the adult ed direction they're going in, which is expanding programming at the same time as finding cost efficiencies. So through that and through the reduction, it brings our overall budget tonight for the taxpayers into a 4.99% increase overall. That is what we're asking of taxpayers in our general fund budget and adult ed together. When we started this process back in January, we were looking at a 22% increase to the budget. And so a lot of finagling and streamlining and really trying to prioritize what was important. We had several positions that were requested that were not able to fit into the budget this time around. A big part of this is a very minuscule increase overall to special ed compared to years past. In the two previous years, you looked at $1 million and $1.5 million in special ed alone for increases in that one cost center. And this year you'll see it's under $200,000 as an increase. So Mr. Chicklin in his first year has really looked at trying to still provide all the things we need for our students, but finding ways to cut costs where it wasn't needed and to really maximize the staffing and the resources we did have in place already. So this is the smallest budget we've put forward to the towns as far as an increase in years. What that looks like for individual towns. So 4.99 is budget to budget, what we're asking of taxpayers to increase. So it's a total increase in the end of $643,000 from budget to budget for the taxpayers to be paying. Bethel is looking at a 6.3% increase to the town of Bethel. Greenwood's looking at a 4.8% increase. The town of Newry's at a 10% increase. And Woodstock is looking at a 1.4% reduction. So their assessment is actually being reduced from last year. So that just gives you a general sense of the big picture and the big numbers of where the budget's at and how we got to that point. If you have followed the news at all, there is a movement in the legislature to change the EPS, which is the Essential Programs and Services formula, which is how we are allotted money from the state to pay towards our education. They're looking at changing the formula for FY28 across the state to include not just property evaluations, but also looking at our economically disadvantaged numbers to see if that offsets a little bit and how that works, and also how they reimburse some of the special ed costs. They put out a preliminary assessment a year out from now using this year's numbers if that formula were to change. And we're still a minimum receiver, and our amount changes less than $2,000. Well, we get a little bit more. That's if it goes through as it is right now. We'll wait and see how that balances out in the future, but that's what's before the legislature and what they're doing. So the next, we tried to wait one this time. Next page coming around shows you the breakdown that we have. And this is just a little bit about what this overall $18.5 million budget looks like in some of the big number senses. On the front side of your page, it shows you that 91% of our budget is essentially fixed costs. Almost 50% of this budget is salaries and benefits. That's a big chunk. That is already negotiated, and it's already in there to provide, that goes everything from my salary, all the administrators, down to teachers, ed techs, coaches, maintenance, custodial, bus drivers, everybody. That salary part, the benefits are another 18.4%. We were very fortunate this year when the insurance rates came out. We had budgeted 15% because that was the max. And ours came in at 5%. It's the first time we've not been in a double-digit increase in over 6 years as a district. So we were able to put those savings towards lowering the budget to towns without having to cut programming or staffing. And then the remaining fixed costs, and there's a list here that you can see listed below, are your utilities and some of our contracted services and programs that we sponsor for our kids' sake. So BAM is the Bethel Area Arts and Music, North Star, our instructional software, 4-H, the 4-H program, special ed, Region 9, which is a fixed thing we have, and then a listing down below. If you look at the back of your page, it gives the cost of each one of those, if you're curious as to what the breakdown is per line item. That's what we put in for money. To get to that $4.1 million. And then on the front page on the right-hand side, the remaining 9% of the budget, outside the 91% fixed cost, are your supplies for classrooms and teachers, our instructional contingency and special ed contingency, which we did increase the special ed contingency this year. The contingency we had in the past wasn't even enough to cover the cost of an ed tech if a student moved in and we needed to add a position. This allows for a position and or an out-of-district placement, so that if we had a student move in over the summer that we were not expecting or planning on, it would not have to come at the cost of taking something else out of the budget. It's just the reality of making sure that we have things in there in case. Call it your rainy day fund if you want, but just to have things in place already so that we don't have to go and take other portions of the budget to cover those costs. Some of the other pieces, your elementary and secondary learning alternative. At the Telstar complex, we call that 7 Peaks program, and that's grades 6 through 12. The elementary portion of that is for the Boston field trip for the 5th grades. And then going down for your job remaining graduates, we have a JMG program here that is funded through DHHS. We pay a portion of the provider's salary here, and Shannon Cordell runs that program here at Telstar. We only have to pay a portion. DHHS covers the rest of it. And that amount has been the same for the last 3 years. At one point, it was supposed to be an increasing scale each year, and they've actually capped it the last 3 years, so it's not gone above the $27,000. Transportation repairs and parts, tires, some of those things are reductions. We, right now, only have 2 bus routes and 2 bus drivers. We're only running 2 buses daily out of our 11 bus runs. So I was able to reduce some of the costs with repairs, maintenance, tires. We aren't having to outfit 7 buses with tires, only to outfit 2. So that makes a difference. And then one of the big increases you're going to see, and we're going to talk about, and Brian kind of alluded to this is why we have the ESCO company, but we have a lot of projects that need to be done on our buildings and maintaining them. And Arlen spent, I think Arlen started her budget process in October, really trying to go through and evaluate different vendors for our services, fuel costs, propane, all the different vendors that come in and do projects, but trying to maintain, we've got roofing projects we know we have to do, the lighting project you see above you here, continuing to do flooring projects in all the schools, painting projects, maintaining what we have, looking at the plumbing in this building going forward. We have outside projects seem to be done. If we don't start picking away a little bit each year at a little bit of an increased rate, we're not going to be able to keep up. And we do not qualify for a new school, under the state formula. The best we can do is apply for revolving renovation funds to help pay for some of the repairs and some of these projects. But we do not qualify because our student enrollment is not increasing. We've not outgrown our schools. Unless we have a catastrophic failure in one of the buildings, we wouldn't qualify. Each year they put 20 schools on the list. This last year they funded 3 building projects. Some of those schools at the top of the list could wait up to 13 years to actually see a building on site. So it's not something that's a very timely process to begin with, and it's very limited. They're trying to change at the state level and put more money towards repair and renovating schools versus trying to build brand new schools. 65% of the schools in the state of Maine were built in the same 10-year span that our schools were built in the 60s. So they're all coming of age at the same time. And we're only replacing 2 or 3 schools a year. You're never going to be able to take care of your buildings unless the local taxpayers can pick that up. We cannot ask local taxpayers to put $50 million into a new school. It's just not realistic. So we did this year put some more money into the capital renewal plan. We increased that up to $300,000 from $250,000. This year we went through our $250,000. We ended up with the surprise roof project here in July that took $113,000 that was not planned. And still trying to figure out the projects we had to keep maintaining. We know we have roofing projects at Preston Park and in this building next year that are in the budget and planned for. But you never know what surprises lurk around the corner. Old buildings, things happen. We also know that the more you dig into things, the more you find. We learned that in the music room here. The ongoing project there, we're trying to make sure that we have the roof taken care of. We will be this summer putting in a drop ceiling in that room. We had to wait till school's out. But in order to do that, the drop ceilings is labor and materials, but you also have to lower all your sprinkler heads. You have to lower all the new lights that were just put in. We had to lower the fire alarm and strobe lights that were in there. So it's a process to go through, but we're able to do that for under $20,000. And so we're pretty lucky that that's all it will take to make sure that is secure and we don't have the tar droplets coming down through from the roofing project done last summer. That, what we determined is that because of the age of the substructure and the underside of the roof, temperature swings cause shrinking and expansion, and that's why some of those debris pieces are falling down through the roof that had never fallen through before. Just a thing over time. So we're learning a little bit more each day about all of this. Are there any questions so far? I don't want to rush through it, but a lot of this has been shared with people already. This is specific cost center breakdown. These cost centers are when we have the public hearing in May, we go through and you have to vote on each cost center and the increases and decreases as we go through them. So this is a chance to look at where the numbers come from. So cost center 1 is your biggest one. This is your instructional expenditures. So this is your salaries and benefits for all of your teachers, ed techs, office staff, nursing staff, social workers, and all your instructional supplies, instructional software. So as you can see with contracts that we negotiated and salary and benefit increases, there's an increase of $254,000 to this line just for the staffing. But we had a reduction in supplies, books, and software. Now some of that is moved over to a different cost center. We've tried to streamline things and with Mr. Twitchell trying to put things that are curriculum related in the curriculum area specifically versus under each individual building level for that group. purchasing power, but also just trying to make sure that they're directly curriculum related. They fall into the curriculum cost center. The 16 through 20 tuition, that is adult ed money that comes in from the state, and the money still exists. The state is doing it directly to adult ed versus sending to the district, and the district then passing it over to adult ed. And that allows for adult ed to work with individuals who are ages 16 to 20 in the state who have dropped out of high school, trying to make sure they're either getting a diploma or working on their high set equivalency. And then the professional teacher incentive, we took that out of the contract negotiations, and that was a carryover from the old TIF grant, where teachers have performance pay at the end of a 3-year cycle and took turns in doing that. And so that was a reduction and removal from there. 2 additions to this, 2 positions were added in, as we talked earlier and was shared about the ELO position with Carrie Lynch. That has been a 3-year grant. The grant was covering Carrie's salary, and the district picked up the benefits. Now the grant is ending. We asked to have the whole position put into the budget, so it's a partial budget addition. And then after much back and forth about the elementary program, last year we cut the instrumental position at the elementary, or cut one of the elementary music positions due to going 2 years without having a hard time being able to fill it. We attempted something this year, and not through lack of effort. It did not work out the way it was planned, and so in order to keep the music program alive, the proposal was to put back the 4/5 position, which will be an instrumental position for both Crescent Park and Woodstock. And that will allow for the instrumental lessons to be happening on a regular basis. It expands some of the instrumental offerings at the elementary level. It also allows the opportunity with the other music teacher to bring back chorus, which was cut out of, you could only have so many slots. So in an individual schedule in a given week. So that are the 2 positions we're asked to go back in. And that is also part of the increase, as you see. That's cost center 1. Are there any questions about that? Okay.
What's the
Cost-
name of that cost center?
What's that?
Like, what's the
Instructional.
instruction?
Instructional
Like, what's the
center.
name of that?
Cost center 2 is special ed. And through many versions, this budget is only coming in, as you can see, $56,000 of an increase over the current year versus the $2.5 million over the last 2 years. That is also a part of a lot of the revenue that comes in through special ed. And our district is very unique in the fact that we have several unorganized state territories, EUTs. We have agreements with Gilead and Upton, Andover, Hanover, in addition to our 4 towns of the district. So all of that plays a role in here, and that's all student-based. It all depends on students with IEPs, and some of them, as they graduate or services change, or if they are no longer in the district and have an out-district placement, all those costs are incurred through here. And this year coming up, the state has gone back to their old way of billing the district and then reimbursing for different things versus direct billing. So that plays into some of the cost centers and the revenue streaming. A big part of this is transportation. And we have 1 bus run that is for special needs students based on their IEP. We also have several van runs. And some of the, in addition to that, some of that is contracted out through outsource. So transportation is a big piece to go along with our programming. And then we have students in at least 3 out-of-district placements, 4 settings that are not here in district for their own IEP needs. But within all of that, all the moving and shaking and all those parts and pieces, the budget's only $56,000, which in special ed terms is pretty unheard of. And that's not cutting anyone's services. That is having enough teachers, ed techs to meet student IP needs, And also, if the students can't get their individual educational needs met here, it's getting them into the right placements where they need to. So that is a huge coup. And so that allows our budget overall not to be ballooning out of control. That's a big one. Region 9, cost center 3 is up just over $50,000 this year. That is in part to our student usage, student enrollment, and that is based off the previous year. They're always a year behind in those numbers. So they look a year behind when they assess those numbers. And Region 9 just went through a contract negotiation with their staff. So their salaries and benefits are also part of that increase. We had over 50 students participating.
62.
62.
At one time, well, October 1st. Last year was 47.
Right. And so, in this coming year, we have a big contingency of students who have applied and been accepted. So students are definitely looking at the options in Region 9 and taking advantage of that opportunity. Any questions on Region 9? Part of that increase too is with their, with the new buildings. There are some utilities increases and different things that come with that. The new buildings and all of the equipment, all the furnishings are part of the grant that built Bethel. That did not come out of their budget. Cost center 4, it's labeled as other instruction. It's essentially all of your extracurricular. This is your sports, clubs. You're not looking to expand or add any programming at this time. It's just the increases come from the salaries and benefits of your coaching staff. That was part of the TA negotiations. They're called Schedule B positions. Those are each year, they're good for 1 year. The big jump is in private transportation, that is ride source, with only having 2 bus drivers. A lot of the trips fall to ride source drivers. Our drivers have first refusal, but if they don't or can't fill them, then ride source fills them. And then we saw a big jump in the coming year with dues and fees and officials fees. The rate for officials has gone up. They increased their mileage and their hourly rate. The other piece we're coming across with travel is that our middle school conference, the Capital Area League, Cal League, is based out of Augusta. So our middle school kids are literally traveling all across the state for games and conferences. They try to have some regionalized, but when it comes to playoffs and different events, they are going to Augusta and beyond for different things. And our high school conferences between the East West, the MVC Collaborative, we're going everywhere from the islands off the coast of Maine to Bingham, to Sacramento Valley and everything in between. We're literally mountains to the sea. So there's a lot of travel involved. We have baseball, softball coming up. On a weekday game, the kids have to leave here at 5:45 to make the ferry to go to Vinyl Haven. So it's a day of school. You take your turn. They also came here during basketball and stayed the night. So that's just what's in there, but Gail worked really hard to make sure that we still have rotations of uniforms in there, to keep updating uniforms and having enough uniforms. Especially in the middle school level, our middle school numbers are ballooning each season, which is an awesome problem to have. We're seeing well over 60% of our kids participate in seasonal sports, which is great. We also have to make sure we have enough stuff, equipment and uniforms. And trying to, in sports where it makes sense, track is one, buying uniforms that are 6 through 12 and getting bigger lots of them and just having more options for sizes. And it doesn't matter, you can swap back and forth. Try and do that where it's possible. Cost center 5 is your student support. This falls guides and social work supplies. This is where your curriculum falls. This is also all of our technology. So this is coming up, this will be our final refresh year from switching from laptops to iPads. The high school is the last group to get iPads, and then we'll have them throughout the district. We have one of those grades we picked up by MLTI program with the state, which they do an 85% reimbursement, which is huge. And then this is also where GT falls, GT program. So some of the increases are some changes within the curriculum programming and outline, and Brian has really worked to try and institute a 5-year rotation where each curriculum gets reviewed every 5 years. And within that, looking at the programs, the resources, the materials that are needed, and making sure that teachers have what they need to implement those curriculums. It was something that Dr. Murphy had tried to do years ago and implement and start that rotation. It's also trying to stay in line with, they say, but the state has had a plan to do a 5-year rotation where they're reviewing the learning results and trying to stay in line step with that. So when the state reviews, we're also reviewing at the same time so that things work together and that increase. And as I said in the beginning, there were some reductions in cost center 1 that shifted over to this cost center so that if they are district curriculum related, they fall under the same house versus under individual buildings. Are there any questions about that? Cost center 6 is our shared, this is school board and central office cost center. It is up $13,000. A big chunk of that is salaries and benefits for the central office staff. And then our audit services saw an increase of $6,100. So that's a big chunk of your increase. And then we have the tech service is our contract with Tyler Tech and other services and some reductions. We're looking at hopefully some more within PowerSchool if we manipulate this correctly in our favor. But that is the operations for our central office, and that's Robin and Deb and myself and Wendy in the cost center here. Ross and Brian fall into their cost centers as we go through. School administration is your building administrators in each office. An increase of only $6,800. Salaries and benefits, there's an increase in printing and supplies and graduation costs of the high school. Things aren't getting cheaper. And part of that admin printing cost was to get some new equipment and software to be able to do in-house printing of posters and different things that can be done here versus having to pay outside sources to do it. So that is pretty minimal, thankfully. Transportation, probably other than special ed, saw the biggest swing. There are a lot of big numbers under transportation, both in the positive and the negative. And that's just trying to realign and switch over from district bus routes, district staff to ride source. Like I said, we're down to, out of our 11 bus runs, only 2 are district drivers. Everything else is contracted out. So I was able to reduce our diesel and our gas lines, maintenance, tires. But at the same time, we have to increase for the daily runs. Ride source also, if our drivers don't do it, we have things, Rugrats this year, field trips, sports trips, our late bus runs. All those things are put out to our drivers first. And if they don't do it, the ride source pulls them in. We have gone this entire year. We have not had to cancel and double up the bus run. We're the only district that can say that. And when I go to my meetings, they're all scrambling because ride source has been able to fulfill everything we need. Yes, it comes with a cost, but it's a cost that keeps everything running on time and keeps everyone able to access all the things we're trying to do, which is, in this day and age, is kind of unprecedented. They've been wonderful to work with. They staff the bus garage, they man the radios, they help with all the scheduling and routes. They help launch the app for parents with BusRight to follow the app and all the new software. It really has been a really positive collaboration. And this year especially has allowed me to step back and actually do more of my job and less of transportation. So I'm personally and selfishly appreciative of that. And then buildings and grounds is the other big one. As I said earlier, cost center 9, your last cost center. This is really due to projects. You see an increase in salaries and benefits. Part of that, a big reason for that is we were not able to find full-time custodians. And for a long time, we were down, Carson Park, they were down 2 custodians. In this building, we were down 3, if not 4 custodians in second shift. And so we had a bunch of people who were willing to do half shifts. And so instead of doing an 8-hour shift, they're half time doing 4-hour shifts. The big change within that, it's great, and the manpower is helpful. But in the Ask Me contract, which is their union, if you are 20 hours a week, you have access to full-time benefits, and all of them take the benefits package. So that salary and benefits, it's really benefits is an increase, less salary, it's more benefits than salary. And that's just based on the current staffing that we have, configuration we have that people are willing to work. Our liability insurance, all of our insurances went up, as does everyone this day and age. But the big thing that Arlene has worked really hard in leaving us in really remarkable shape is she went through and made sure that all of our dues and fees, our annual inspections, all of our different things are actually in the right buildings lines and actually accounted for. We came in with a lot of these things in the first couple of years. They miraculously came out of nowhere and had to be covered, so now they're budgeted for properly and actually laid out specifically what has to happen. We are looking at some big projects coming up in the district in the next couple of years. We need boiler replacements in all 3 buildings. Not going to come at a cheap cost. We have continued roof repairs. As I said, we have plumbing, the cast iron plumbing and pipes in this building are slowly starting to deteriorate and collapse. They're all original, and they're cast iron under 4 feet of concrete. We have maintenance of outside things on the grounds, some ditching. We have a lot of paving that needs to start happening because the pavement is literally crumbling. They couldn't seal everything properly because there was nothing to adhere to. So trying to pick things apart in small chunks as we go. These are not must-haves, but as we start to look at also expansion of parking where we can and making parking readily available. There are some soffit and fascia boards at Woodstock that need to be replaced. We're working on exterior painting. We have HVAC and heating control units in our 2 elementary schools need to be updated. Windows at the Woodstock building, looking at backup systems, our water filtration at Woodstock. We also have the need for another pickup truck for the maintenance department. We bought a new one this past year. We want to buy a newer used one so they have a reliable plow truck. So we have 2 working trucks. We've gone from 3 vehicles down to 2. At one point we had 4. And so those old ones will be going up for auction along with surplus buses. And then we added another $50,000 to the capital improvement line to help with some of these projects. And there aren't a lot of grants out there right now. We're still looking at them, but in order to make sure we do them in a timely manner, that money needs to be there. So those are your cost center breakdowns. And the highs and the lows of where the work that the committee's been working on and doing to get to that overall number of 4.99% increase, which is pretty good. Pretty proud of that work. It was not easy. There was a lot of discussion, but it puts us in a pretty reasonable, I would say, for our given circumstances and the times that it is meeting our needs. We do not have to cut student programming. We do not have to cut any positions yet at this time to make that happen, which is rare and something that we hold pretty dear. So that would be the general ed budget, and then your adult ed budget. first packet coming around is just the breakdown of your adult ed brackets. And then this is the overall of the adult ed budget. And I have to thank Deb for all of her countless hours in making this possible. She is out of the state right now, and did all this together before she left. She even stayed last Tuesday night, well after our meeting, to make sure we have the updated numbers, all the adjustments. She hasn't landed yet. But she is coming home. She makes this possible. Yeah, she had to be coming home.
Just coming back.
Yeah. So the packet that you have just shows the different cost centers within adult ed. The adult ed budget is very different than the regular ed budget. They rely very heavily on their programming to bring in the revenue stream so that things are self-sufficient. They spent, when I say they, Terry and Coral spent a lot of time this year modernizing adult ed to being a massive Facebook presence versus doing the paper flyers and newspapers that would go out. Expanding the variety and amount of classes and courses and things that people are interested in to kind of bring back the community feel of what adult ed is. And then Terry has really worked tirelessly to expand HiSET, which is the GED equivalent now for trying to get people to get their diplomas and things like that. And on a good track and a good path, and really set some parameters and some boundaries and really have some expectations and communication with them to meet their needs, but also with the support that they need to be successful. So if you look at the adult ed budget, it's an increase in this year of $6,600 from last year's budget to this year's budget. There was no difference in the state's share subsidy. We became a minimum receiver because the last year was the first time in 6 years we asked locals to put money towards adult ed. We had been working off of old COVID money and reserve money, but because of that, the state did not put in any portion of state subsidy because we were not putting portion in by local towns, so we had to change that. We added $5,000 from that carryover to bring down some of that increase, and the local share for the towns was a decrease. Because of that, we are not asking the towns for as much as we did last year because we're using some of that carryover and subsidy to offset it. Right now, the fund balance they have is at $70,000. So they're carrying a fund balance forward of $70,000 in the positive when all is said and done. And so they have that to work with as well. So your adult ed budget, as you see tonight, is in really good shape. And we're only asking for that approval. So when all is said and done, it's actually, we're asking for less than it takes to run the program. And within that, we will start to, next year, we should start seeing the state will start kicking in some of the state subsidies as well to help offset. And if that happens, then we can reduce, or we ask the towns to continue to do so. We had to put money towards it, but we had to put in a bigger chunk to try and get back on track with the state. Are there any questions about adult ed? Okay, I conclude my report tonight.
We do not have any old business to tend to this meeting, so we'll move on to new business. Number one, we do not have any adjustments to the agenda, so we'll move on to number two. To see what action the board wishes to take regarding the approval of the FY27 SAD44 general fund budget as presented this evening, and the finance committee will have a recommendation.
The finance committee recommends approval.
Thank you, Meredith. We do not need a second, and we have a recommendation from the committee, so I will open the floor for discussion. Another opportunity to ask any questions about the clarifications, like if you have any. Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the proposed FY27 MSAD44 general fund budget as presented this evening? Thank you very much. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Number 3, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the approval of the FY27 MSAD44 adult and community education budget as presented this evening. The Finance Committee will have a recommendation.
The Finance Committee recommends approval.
Thank you, Meredith. I will open the floor for discussion. If there are any questions, comments? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the FY27 adult and community education budget as presented this evening? It's unanimous. Thanks again, everyone. Number 4, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the second reading of policy CD-R, superintendent's job description. And the policy committee will have a recommendation.
Oh, that's me.
Wake up. Any discussion at all on this agenda? Beth?
I think the structure of this is like significantly better than what we had. And I think will make it easier also for us to do evaluations and stuff. I know, but a lot of changes were made, but I think it will be long-term very beneficial for us to actually have the useful feedback from Mark. And maybe also help us be more strategic in our planning and goal setting for the system also.
Absolutely. Thank you, Beth. Any other comments, discussion? All of those in favor of approving a second reading of policy CD-R, superintendent's job description? It's unanimous. Thank you. Number 5, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the second reading of policy IMDA, patriotic exercises. And the policy committee will have recommendation.
Also, committee recommends approval.
Any discussion on this agenda? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approving the second reading of policy IMDA, patriotic exercises? It's unanimous. Thank you. Number 6, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the first reading of policy EDD, temperature standards for schools. And the policy committee will have a recommendation.
The policy committee, again, recommends approval.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the first reading of policy EDD, temperature standards for schools. Thank you. Very nice. Number 7, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding the approval of new buildings and grounds supervisors starting in FY27. And facilities and personnel will have a recommendation.
Facilities and personnel, recommend approval.
Thank you, Brian. I will open the floor for discussion and also give you time to get an idea for being distributed.
Coming that way.
We'll get there.
We want you. Oh.
There's still movement.
Otherwise, I'll come sit next to you. Yeah.
Usually there's 2 each way. No, it's Those are 9 now?
Well, there is no.
Yeah, there is.
So while you're reading, we had 4 applications come in. We were able to interview 3 of the 4. One of our interviewees, the day of, called and withdrew their name from the interview process, so we interviewed the other 3. The committee spent a lot of time, we've done a lot of interviews between ESPA companies and the Munis director over 2 weeks. And this individual has a lot of experience in the construction field. They are a Mountain Valley graduate, live in the Northford area, and looking to work closer to home. Done a lot of building projects, is specializes in drywall and systems, knows a lot of building systems, different things. It will be their first time working in a school system in this type of a role. They are going to come in and spend some time with our Lynn before she's done in June to do a handoff and do some training. So that there's a little bit of preparation, it's not coming completely blind. And they'll be working with the two maintenance gentlemen we have working now, going forward. Is there anyone want to say anything in particular?
I can say more. So we did have two very strong candidates. I'm excited about this one because of the future plans that we're getting into right now. His knowledge of the buildings, like Mark said, I think he's a good person that can have on our team for like the future of what we need to do for these buildings. Even before he came in here, he toured all three buildings' exteriors and already came with notes just at the interview of what he saw. So he was eager to get in, eager to talk about things that he saw. So I think he will have a lot of knowledge that he's going to bring.
Are there any other questions or comments? How do you feel about going into the school?
I bet great because he's never been in one. So, you know, he doesn't know what he doesn't know. So he'll learn on the way. But it is great because he's going to have some time. He's in between positions right now, so he'll be able to get in here and get some hands-on knowledge and get some things passed along for these buildings that always have surprises. But I think he's very eager.
Any other questions or discussion on this candidate? Seeing none, all of those in favor of approval of the buildings and grounds supervisor, James Windover, starting in FY '27. Thank you. Mr. Evans. You can just pass your packets over. Number 8, to see what action the board wishes to take regarding approval of a contract for the superintendent of schools for approval of the contract for the superintendent of schools for FY '27, FY '28, and FY '29. And the finance committee will have recommendation. The finance committee recommends approval. David Demare.
And this is the one, we were just emailed this, right? We don't have
Yes.
any.
There were a few copies
There's
of, a
couple
few
copies.
paper copies, if anybody would like it. I have a commandeered one and I scribbled on it.
No, we're going for discussion.
Let me check what I read on.
I really like this.
I think we talked about this before, but I don't remember the explanation. I feel like when anyone in the community probably asks us about the biggest thing they ask is salary, and I just wanted to understand how the rate of increase was figured out and what the goal was there. It's a big, it feels like a big jump year to year, and I don't know if that sets a precedent to do that continually or how that was approached. And I was just curious feedback on that. Is that to you?
Sure. So we looked at data from other districts and we negotiated that rate with Mark, so. And the committee was all in favor of those increases to get him in line with other districts and what we thought was appropriate.
And so the goal being to be competitive or with other districts?
Yes.
Well, I would just note that he's significantly underpaid from area district, substantially. This doesn't even come close to bringing him up to what others are.
Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of,
It was 5%.
Yeah.
So just, that's what they said along, it was 5% each year, so if the people, I mean, if they want numbers.
It's just 5% is a bigger and bigger increase also eventually over time, so. Just curious.
Could lock them in for 10 years.
Yeah.
Gold tree for now.
How does that compare to all other teachers' salaries increases per year? Similar, at 5% or no?
They were anywhere from 3.5% to 4% plus a step.
No offense, but where does your 1% come in?
Where's my 1%?
Yeah, above the teachers, you know what I
I
mean?
work year round, I have a 260-day contract versus their 182. That's part of it. I still oversee transportation, which is not factored into that.
Just asking. No, I mean, I appreciate you.
Sure.
But also have to figure out the fact that the teachers are getting a step raise. You said they get 4%, but by the time the step raise, they're all over 5%.
Do you want to explain? I don't know if everyone understands what step raise is.
They get an increase because of more, a year experience, plus they get an increase year over year. So this 1% is year over year, then the next step is a step raise. Is a year of experience.
Calculated in how long they've been teaching.
There are 20 steps in a teacher's contract to get to the top of this pay scale.
Are those steps not related to their education and their, I would have thought the steps were like having a master's or this,
So you have,
like that's, because
So there are-
year over year.
there are
it's
lateral
different.
steps. So there's, the basic steps are based on everyone with a bachelor's. And then there are increased steps for bachelor's plus 15, then a master's plus 15, and a doctorate. So there are different, and within each year, those also, they increase across the table, but also increase each year as you go down and experience on top of that. Does that help?
I understand. Yeah, I worked it. I just feel like the explanation of it just being year over year doesn't actually, if people don't understand what a step means. Like I can be a teacher and then I can get more professional development and I can jump up to a new step. Which is different from you, I assume there's no sort of step for a.
And isn't 1% the minimum? Doesn't it actually increase to a higher level of 2% or something? For a step increase or not?
It depends on the steps, yeah. So anywhere from some steps are over 2%.
Over 2,
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I thought.
I have a different question that's kind of related, it's maybe to the budget too. When we are, like these meetings are public, obviously they're filmed, and the documents like this that we get ahead of time, are they confidential or are they, we have a public comments time at the beginning of our meetings, but I'm still unclear on like, what is the public allowed to know before a meeting so that they could come and make a comment or share their opinion? So something like this, I guess, would be an example. Like, is this like confidential till we approve it?
Everything's in draft form until it goes to the board for approval. And so the board packets you get our information for you as a board, be able to make the decisions in the meetings and go over them. We make them available at the meeting as an option. It's a courtesy. I wouldn't say they're confidential.
Yeah,
but they
not
just-
necessarily confidential, but not shareable at that point in time because the board hasn't reviewed and voted on them. But hence why this discussion is taking place in a public forum too, because it is all accessible for the public as knowledge. And the contract, I believe, upon request, if anybody wanted to
It's
look
all
at that, it's all public, so. We just didn't distribute it beforehand because it's the first time the full board has not discussed it as well.
And just like, it's, every year we have the budget meetings too, so somebody could come and talk about it after we vote on it, in theory, right? In May. So they still will have an opportunity to speak about it. If that's what you're thinking.
If they watch
Yeah.
tonight's meeting,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
can come to
Yeah.
May.
If that was your concern.
Like, the more we can encourage the public to be involved, especially with the budget, is helpful for people to understand what they're paying for and to feel good about this.
All the documents for the budget presentation in May and the slideshow will be put up 2 weeks in advance on the website and Facebook, so people can look at it ahead of time. So it's not just coming in and seeing it for the first, if they choose to to see it for the first time that Wednesday night in the auditorium.
All of our committee meetings are open to the public as well, right?
Yes.
So theoretically, people could also show up to those.
So the public attended some committee meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't happen that often, but they are open.
Yeah.
People will on occasion, so.
So therefore, the information at those wouldn't be confidential.
Nope. Any questions, feedback? All of those in favor of approval of the contract for the superintendent of schools for FY '27, FY '28, and FY '29? Thank you. Motion passes. It's unanimous. Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Thank you, Stephanie. Any discussion? I'm assuming no. All of those in favor of adjournment? Thank you.
Thank you again for the thoughtful.
Yeah.